All right, I've been told we have Tony Ruby on the line. Hello, Tony.
Hello, Ken. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ken.
Yeah. How is Benin?
Oh, Benin is fine. I'm just out of church. I'm just left the service.
All right. First, I want us to go straight to. When we spoke, I said you were coming from Warri. What was happening in Warri? What happened in Warri?
Yes, I was in Warri to observe and watch the national trials for selection of Nigeria's team for both the African games coming up and then for the World Championship.
And then you went. What did you observe?
Well, I would say disappointing. In one hand, if that is the national trials for selection of our team to represent us at the world stage, then definitely the performances are much, much below standards. I don't think anyone there qualifies into the World Championships because they have what you call standard A and standard B. And definitely, if you don't have, a country cannot produce athletes in both the A and the B standards. Because the B standard is for those who cannot achieve the A standard. And where you have one or two athletes that can have the A standard in your country, then you only pick the A standard. You can't go for the B standard. And as of now, I think we have only one individual athlete that has qualified for the A standard, and that is our own Blessing Okagbare. And after that, I don't think there's any other athlete. Maybe the women's 4x100 or 4x400 will be the next team that has qualified. So definitely, majority of the performances were below the world, I would say the elite world-class standard. All the others fall into the B standard, and they cannot be presented for the World Championships. And for the All-Africa Games, well, I think that is where I think majority of the others who performed a little bit above the average level will qualify. And that is my professional observation of the Nigerian team as of now.
Okay, I will keep you there. In the 100 meters male and let's look at the male. There was no sub 10, and in the female, well, there was no sub 11. Is that cause for us to worry?
Definitely, we have cause to worry because going back some 15 or even 20 years back, this was an area where Nigeria stood head above all other countries in Africa, for instance. For example, remember in the 70s and even early 80s, we had Nigerian athletes in both the men and women's sprints from 100 to 400 at the world-class level. But as of today, we just have, there's just nobody, apart from Blessing Okagbare, there's just nobody in the Nigerian team that we say qualifies in any of the individual events, with the exception of maybe one or two male athletes in the triple jump, and that's it. So definitely there's cause for worry.
Tony, let me ask you this. If a few years back you were the president of the federation,
correct?
Did you put any thing in place? To say yes, this is what you target that you want to achieve. The training, catch them young, groom them, push them to. Let's say by now that maybe the result of what you put in place would have been reaping it by now. Was there anything like that? Did you foresee to say this is the 10-year plan for athletics in Nigeria? This is the 20-year plan, the short term, the middle term, and the long term.
Yes, that's a fine question. If you remember in 1990, that was my the year I retired voluntarily from government service. I retired voluntarily out of frustration, out of anger. Because by 1984, immediately after the Olympics, when Nigeria did not perform too well but had our first medals at the Los Angeles 84, In fact, the problem started in 1980. After the 1980 Moscow Olympic Games, there was scandal, there was all types of reports. And by 84, the performances were not improving. It was at that period that the National Sports Commission commissioned me and called me, and I was transferred to as a national chief coach for the country by 1985. My first was to raise up a junior team, a junior set of boys and girls. Then you had the Oyanis, you had the Chidimos, who were dominating at the world-class level, and they were coming, the Yusuf Ali's and co. But I was able to, within 4 years, I was able to bring a new generation of young athletes. You have the Olakpade Adenikon. In 87, you have the Davidson, the twin brothers. I discovered these athletes at the Rivers 87 National Sports Festival. These young kids were not even at the finals in the National Sports Festival. I picked these kids and started the development programs, and within 2 years, the Ezeoans, the Fatima Yusufs, who were brought out, who were just young kids, found their places in the world class. In fact, Fatima Yusuf went and won a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games from Nigeria. She never had traveled out of this country. You had Fatima Yusuf, you had Charity Opara, and then you had the Olakpade Adenikon, you had the Ezeoan twin brothers. In 1990, the twin brothers, Ezeoan, almost won a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games, competing against world champions like from England, Linford Christie. Remember? These were the athletes for the first time who were returning world-class times in Nigeria. But something happened. I fell out with the board. At that time, headed by A.K. Amu, because I was instrumental to stopping a program where Nigerian athletes were always being taken overseas for training at huge expenses to the detriment of this country. Because I said that these athletes should be trained here in Nigeria, the federation was not happy about it. And then I was dropped from the team for the Commonwealth. After preparing the team for the Commonwealth Games, I was dropped from that team. And that was when I made up my mind to say I was retiring voluntarily from the services of the country. I put in my papers and I retired. And ever since then, the standards have been falling down. So it's as a result of poor technical ability of the federation. The coaches we have presently as of today are just coaches that can just barely handle junior athletes. They don't have the scientific and professional knowledge to raise the level of these athletes to international level.
All right, Tony. Okay, let me just take it up from there. You're talking about the scientific way of handling athletes. Yeah, to you, the coaches we have now do not have them. Nduka Bade is right here with me, and we're talking about sports science. And I know you are one of those apostles who practice sports science. What is sports science all about? And do you think if we apply it, if the coaches have the knowledge of sports science, do you think they will perform better?
Definitely. You see, a major problem that we are facing in this country is I'm just from the U.S. I had some of my training in the U.S. And I know that, for instance, the best young athletes from this country are produced from the higher institutions, from colleges, from universities, where you have the right adequate training by professionals who are trained, not just in physical education, who have the scientific knowledge of what sport is all about. Sport is a science. You don't have to be a scientist in the first place. But if you, as the trainer, don't have some of the knowledge about physical exercise, about organizing training programs, then we have a problem. Since our educational institutions have been, I would say, I use the term, unfortunately I like to use that, it has been bastardized. We can no longer produce top quality sportsmen from the higher institutions. In the US, for instance, you cannot get into professional level if you are not a collegiate athlete. So they made sure that the collegiate sports was properly constituted and properly managed by people who are technically qualified. So this is one of the biggest handicaps we are facing. We're finding that a lot of the African athletes, even Nigerian athletes, are coming up. Unfortunately, this is a fact. Majority of them, the fact is that some of them are dropouts from even secondary school. Not to talk of even the professional level. How can a coach not understand what is, for instance, the center of gravity?
Tony, are you saying we have coaches who do not understand what center of gravity is?
Definitely, my friend. I'm telling you.
Okay.
I'm telling you. If they're not there in football, they are there in track and field. The center of gravity is just for you to know that once you displace your center of gravity, that's what makes you to move. You cannot move without understanding the principle that your center of gravity, you move your whole body forward, you will move. It's a displacement in sprinting form, you keep your center of gravity ahead of you. So that helps you to get into a form that will make you run faster.
Now, is that what sports science is all about?
Science is all about understanding the movement of the human body. You've got to have a biological knowledge of the muscles that are comprised of that help sprinting. You can't move without understanding that you've got to get your body, your arms, your muscle strength, your ankles, your knees properly conditioned to assist in moving that body weight. So depending on your body weight, you have to design an exercise that will suit that human being to carry his body weight at a convenient level that can make him run faster than the athlete who does not have the physical ability to move. These are some basic principles in sports.
For science. All right, Tony, before I let you go, was it the AFN who invited you to Warri?
Partly, I would say yes.
All right, that means if they ask you to work with them, are you willing to work with them again?
Of course, I've always been willing to work with them. The problem has always been that it's not only in track and field. We have always thought that there is something so special about foreign-based professionals. I tell you, you cannot get the good foreign-based professionals without having to sacrifice to pay so much amount of money in foreign currency. They are more expensive to have. But you definitely have Nigerians you can adequately pay, and they can give you better results. You can't get the best Cubans, for instance, to come and coach your team because they will prefer to coach. You can't get the best Americans.
All right. Are you saying we should send only Okagbare to the World Championship?
Right now, she's the only one qualified. If you want to get results, we are not just going. It's no longer a jamboree.
Are you saying we should send only Okagbare to the World Championship, Tony?
And the women's team, they have the women's 4x400 who are qualified.
All right, the women. Okay. What of the male? Any other male athletes?
In the male team, not one person, not one male, for instance, in the sprint, has qualified in the A group. So we should forget the male team at going to the World Championship. We just concentrate on Okagbare and the female relay team. Precisely. You have a boy, I think Tosin or so, who is in the triple jump.
Yeah, triple jump. Tosin, okay.
Yes, he will qualify, but I tell you definitely he will not be on the podium. He is fortunate he will get to the finals, but he will not be on the podium.
And then what of the experience? He will also get the experience.
He's been experienced enough. This is not his first time he's been competing. He just doesn't have the quality to be in the top 4 in that event in the whole world. He doesn't have the quality right now.
So, Tony, let me ask you this final question. How soon do you think it can take Nigeria if we want to have top quality athletes, who will be in the top 3 in each of these athletics events? Briefly.
It depends on who is handling them. From my experience,
if you are handling them, if we ask you to handle them, how long it can take you to rediscover those talents which you did in the 80s and 90s?
A minimum of 2 years.
A minimum of 2 years.
I can assure you that.
All right. Thank you very much for the part of this.
We had a young boy from the University of Benin who won the 200 meters for a long time. Even the national trials for a long time, even when I was coaching, I've never seen a boy who is from the university who runs a 20.4 seconds with ease.
Tony, on a personal note, when will your granddaughter represent Nigeria?
By the grace of God, I am giving her the next 4 or 5 years to get into the Grand Prix. But I don't know whether she represents Nigeria or America. She's an American citizen. She also is a Nigerian citizen.
Do you see her winning a Grand Slam in the nearest future?
By the grace of God, I expect her to get in the next 4 to 5 years. She will be in the class.
We are going to talk to her on this show in a few weeks from now. So I hope you promise us that we'll speak with her and say whether even when the grandfather is there, he will choose Nigeria over America.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Ken.
All right.